What's up, nerds? It's Havoc. Got another replay for you guys today on Faymonville, quickly becoming our favorite and most played map. I am playing the DAK against Theo's US forces. This is a bit of a shorter game, not to give too much away, but a bit of a shorter game. I thought it was interesting, really starting to come into this strategy that I've been working on, this tier 2.5. Anyway, I'll get into it with that and get started. So, typical opener for me. I've been starting with bike a lot more recently. Panzer Pioneer moving to our natural plus 10 fuel to fortify. And you can see I'm queuing up the 250 right behind that. I find this to be the best early game build. You are getting the most value out of your 250 as you can at this stage in the game. And you're also reducing the amount of bleed that you're going to have to deal with. Thankfully, because the 250 is coming out so early, we're able to use it to its kind of maximum potential and get early veterancy on it, which is crucial for keeping your troops on the field and minimizing the bleed because of the Vet 1 healing that becomes available at Vet 1 on the 250. Also, typically, we're sending the bike down south to capture our natural plus 10. We're going to move to capture the center here. 250 is immediately going to go to support the Panzer pile that's fortifying the plus 10 fuel here and defend. And then we're going to gradually start to consolidate our units towards the middle so we can decide where we're going to go next. I spotted his rifleman there. I'm just moving just out of range, keeping him at max range as much as possible. Bullying the scout squad that's on the plus 10 munitions, and then I'm going to call these units together in the center and start getting aggressive on this rifleman. And this is what you want to do early on with the 250. It's super important for you to be really aggressive, like I said, to maximize that veterancy and also to force bleed onto your opponent. Because I know that he's gone rifleman, I know I don't have to be super afraid of like an early bazooka squad, but I also want to be wary of, you'll see this pretty commonly among US players, they'll go for very early grenades, sometimes like right after their second rifleman. Because I know this is his first rifleman, I'm going to get pretty aggressive right up in his face, but not before he retreats, so no need to do that. Gonna get out and do some quick repairs here, sending the bike over to harass his fuel to try to decapture that and slow down the tech tempo with which he's gonna build. And I've been doing more recently one Panzer Grenadier after my 250, and going for an early support company that's going to allow me to get an early assault grenadier. I've been having a lot of success with these early assault grenadiers. They hit punch way above their weight class for this stage in the game, and get a ton of value and are pretty beefy as well, kind of minimizing the bleed that you're going to have to deal with because of the disembark bonuses. So I'm deciding here that I'm probably not going to get the plus 10 capture off because his riflemen have started to move over to this section. And so I'm doing something that I think a lot of players might not think to do. Because I know for sure he's going to deny me the capture of this point, I'm just going to leave it alone. And I'm going to focus on capturing up the munitions on the outside of the map. Because the bike's not going to add a ton of value by itself. It's probably just going to take a lot of damage and slow down his ability to capture this point. So I feel like I'm getting a lot more value by focusing on capturing these munitions points. And then I'm going to use my troops to come over and cover or attack this plus 10 again. And this is kind of one of those situations where, you know, you kind of need to evaluate, like, is it better for me to push straight into my opponent? Or is it better for me to pick a place that they are weaker? Faymonville, because there's 2 plus 10 fuels per side, you always have that decision available to you, unlike some other maps like Tunis, where there's only 2 plus 10 fuels that you can really go for. And so you're really going to ask yourself, like, am I going to go for the one on my side or the one on my opponent's side? But in this case, we have a little bit more options than that. And you can see here I'm taking advantage of that. I'm pulling my Panzer Grenadier back, getting myself into like some green cover or defensible position, while I'm pushing my Panzer Pioneer with the 250 up to his natural plus 10. because I've got this pretty strong feeling that he's going to commit to attacking this +10 with the majority of his forces to recapture it. And this is going to give me lots of fuel tempo on him at this point, because we've decaptured this point. We're about to decapture this one. So we're really affecting his ability to get vehicles on the field quickly, bars, grenades, etc. So I'm just waiting till he closes the gap there, and then I'm going to do a full retreat. I'm bringing the 250 over here to support the bike to stop the decapture of this point, while the Panzer Pioneer is fortifying his +10. And the bike by itself might not have been able to handle the scout, but because the 250 showed up to help, then we were able to get it. I'm going to use the auto repairs while I'm capturing a territory point. I've got my assault grenadiers on the field, which I'm going to plug right into this 250 so I can start getting aggressive. And that's one of the nice things about this build is, you know, we're at 345 now, and we're already able to start making use of this really strong unit combination, the 250 and the assault grenadier with the free grenades. Just plant down a quick mine. I'm going to finish the capture and then retreat. We're going to get active here in the middle with our assault grenadiers, denying the VP capture, and then we're going to pull away. But I am thinking about where's the best opportunity for me to start using the disembark bonus to start getting aggressive. And here we go. Oh, I actually missed the disembark bonus there. I think because of the smoke, the 250 wasn't quite in cover. So I'm going to get them back in here and try to make use of that. Again, recently, this has kind of been my core DAK infantry build. I'm not really building infantry beyond this for this particular strategy. And it's pretty well rounded. You know, I've got my Panzer Grenadier to deal with long range. I've got my Assault Grenadiers to help me with the early game engagements and aggression. And then we get the machine gun to help us with area denial, suppression. This kind of gives me everything that I need in terms of an essential infantry composition. And as long as I don't lose any of these units, I'll be able to get a ton of value out of each. So I can see him in the center here. We're going to get active again on his +10. I'm going to wait for an opportunity to use the disembark bonus, but not until we're, you know, facing combat situation. I'm moving my MG34 over to defend my +10 fuel because I'm anticipating he's probably going to send one of his scouts over there at some point. Just doing a quick repair here on the 250. Keeping the Panzer Pioneer in close position on this +10, using the bike to capture the far +10. And again, I'm going to hold my disembark bonus until it's absolutely the most opportune time for me to use it. So you can see just jumping back in here, finishing the capture. And now that he's getting aggressive, I'm going to use the disembark bonus here. So we got the disembark bonus. Because I'm sure he's watching this engagement, I'm anticipating that he's going to try to move, now that he sees these grenades. So what I've deliberately decided to do is throw the grenades in between these two squads, because I'm hoping that he's going to move one of them either towards to support the other or away, and thereby I might be able to catch both squads with a little bit of help from the scatter on this ability. Throw the grenades out, force the retreat. Managed to catch a couple of these guys with the last grenades. We're taking a ton of damage, but with that play, we were able to force off 2 rifleman squads with 1 assault grenadier, and now I'm very quickly going to be able to back away to base, recoup the losses that I took on the assault grenadier squad, and then get back on the field more quickly than he will. I think I'm just pulling the 250 away here, back to base.
We have vehicles available in reserve.
MG34 is pushing up to support the Panzer Grenadier.
We are losing grasp of a fuel point.
And then we're just doing a little bit of defense, buying some time for our bike to decapture this position. thinking he might have grenades, I'm deciding to pull the bike away this way so that I don't run through a potential snare. I'm going to finish the repairs on here and then get immediately active again with this 250 with the assault gren. Heading straight back to his plus 10 fuel here. And we've got an 8 rad in production. I know I have a ton of fuel relative to him at this point. And so the 8 rad's going to get the most value in terms of this stage in the game. It's the earliest vehicle that I can get out besides a flak Veerling. But because I'm going for tier 2.5 a little bit later on, this is the best unit to be going for in that case. And what I'm going to be doing is looking for an opportunity to pick off this Jeep, leveraging the shock value of the 8 rad that he doesn't know that I have yet. And so you can see here, we're getting super active, getting in the cutoff position with this Panzer Grenadier, chasing down this captain, which is, you know, it's a very few men in that squad. So we're going to try and see if we can pick up the kill here. And the 8 rad's coming in on the flank. I'm not allowing him to see the 8 rad until it's too late. Rather than coming up the road where he might be able to back away more quickly with the Jeep or just retreat rather than try to defend his captain, I'm keeping the 8 rad out of vision. I'm not going to touch the territory point, and I'm going to swing around and get on top of the Jeep right here. So we pick up the Jeep, we get the kill on the captain. I actually thought maybe I could get the assault grenades to finish this medical station, which would have been a huge win, but didn't do quite as much damage as I was expecting. I'm pulling the 250 away to make sure I don't lose it, getting repairs, bringing the 8 rad over here to deny this territory control and capturing that he's doing over here. And now I can see he's got the M3 on the field. This is a very, very typical USF build at the moment, especially with armored battle group. Eat a bit of a grenade there from Theo. I'm just trading with the rifleman squad until I'm realizing there's no way I'm going to kill this because it's going to get reinforced. Using the 8 rad to deter his troops and then using the bike to capture up the map. We're reinforcing or fixing up our 250. And then we're going to be thinking about pivoting into a Stug D because I'm anticipating a GMC from him. If I try to use the 8 rad by itself, the GMC is probably just going to have a field day and bully it really hard. The Stug D, because of the high frontal armor, is able to resist a lot of the shots. At this point, I'm also trying to consider... Oh, I think my bike got stuck here. I was trying to path out, but I got stuck. So I can see his GMC here. I'm keeping my Panzer Grenadier nearby so that if he decides to push forward with the GMC, I can snare it. And I'm still going to keep firing with my 8 rad to support the Panzer Grenadier, in this case, in defense of this fuel. So now that we forced him away, we're just going to retreat and get those heals up. The Assault Grenadier getting back on the field. Seeing he's got a barrage coming in on this building, I'm just going to get out of it really quickly. And I'm going to rotate my way over here, most likely, to continue to try to defend this plus 10. Getting maximum value of the assault disembark bonus. 8 rads here to support. Gonna repair that with the Panzer Pioneer and use the assault grenadiers to recapture this VP. Getting my MG into the new hardpoint. I know he can't barrage it because he just used the barrage on this building. But Theo cleverly he's just gonna tear this building down using the base shots from his GMC. Again, trying to maximize the value that I'm going to get out of the healing from this 250 as much as possible. This is why getting the 250 early as possible is so important, because by getting this Vet 1, I'm not having to use this medical station ability unless I'm healing a group of troops, and I can leverage the Vet 1 to heal individual squads in base and on the field. So this is acting a lot as just like a ferry for these troops. And it's also going to minimize the bleed that I'm having to deal with over the course of the game. Gonna get my MG out of here. Make sure we don't lose it to the building collapse. Planting a mine on a very commonly traversed position to defend our fuel. MG34 in here to support the push in from the Panzer Grenadiers. Barrage coming in from the GMC. 8 Rad supporting this group. Stoke focused on the bazooka squad. Got the snare on the GMC to make sure he couldn't push in. But he does have bars on the rifleman, so I just have to be a little bit more careful of this. Again, trying to stay active here with the 8 Rad, but not overextend so as to get caught by the GMC. And now that we've forced him away, I'm pretty confident that I can defend this decrewed machine gun to the point where I can recapture it. And I initially had this Panzer Pioneer over here capturing this point, but I'm going to bring them over here to recrew this MG34 instead. I'm thinking about upgrades at this point. I've already got a vehicle survival package. Pretty soon I'm going to be going for, here it is, emergency repair kits. The earlier you get these, as far as I can tell, the better. You know, not having to spend time, especially even just with light repairs on your vehicles, it really, really makes a difference over the course of a longer game. And it allows you to be a lot more active with your infantry, with your Panzer Pioneers. And it's also beefing up the health of all your vehicles, which is going to make them more difficult to kill, which we're going to need, you know, as the game progresses. So using the Stug to cover the recrew attempt here by the Panzer Pioneer. Staying on top of his fuel, denying it as much as possible. Gonna pull away the MG34. Occasionally, when you recrew a machine gun, sometimes it's already set up, and if it is, sometimes you can get a little bit of value out of it before pulling it away to reinforce. So in this case, I was just checking to make sure that if the machine gun was set up, I would have been able to suppress this squad, deal a little bit of extra damage before retreating and pulling back with it. But I could see there it was already packed up, so that's why we decided to pull away there. Don't want to take too many shots here from the GMC, so we're just backing away carefully, pushing into the middle. Assault Grenadier controlling the right side, vacuuming up the territory points. Now, a couple options for me at this point that would be pretty good. I am waiting for this Flampanzer to add more anti-infantry capabilities to my troops. I'm not super concerned because he's only got one GMC. The majority of his anti-tank concentration is between that and the one bazooka squad that he's got. And I'm confident that if I can kind of triple down on the anti-infantry capabilities, that I'll be able to bleed him to the point where he's not able to keep up with me. MG34 here in, covering this point. Stug, I'm trying to attack ground and trade at the range, the max range of the GMC. Good use of barrage there from him. And these superior fire drills coming in handy. Managed to get a good shot on here on the GMC. Now, the reason why I didn't commit is because I'm anticipating that he has access to, oh, you know what? This is a great notice for me on reflection. I completely forgot that the high explosive barrage is tied to the cooldown of target weak point. So if you ever see an opponent using the barrage, that may be an open opportunity for you to close on the GMC and kill it. Here, I was afraid of this target weak point because between the bazooka squad and the GMC, he easily could have killed this if I had decided to push in here. But because he had just used the barrage ability, I actually probably could have safely picked this up, used the smoke to get away from the bazooka squad, and come out of that engagement like completely on top. So a little learning in there for myself as well.
Good job, we're patient men.
So pulling my 250 back to base, this is a perfect opportunity for me to use the medical station heals because I have a group of squads that are not healthy at the moment. And because I know his GMC is low, I'm just being super aggressive with the Flampanzer.
Enemy has taken a victory point.
Super, super aggressive. And I'm really like, I'm a really big fan of this composition. It's super rounded. Obviously, we're lacking anti-tank, But because I know that he's gone for M3/GMC, his lean is going to be more towards infantry. And so if I can field more units that are anti-infantry, then that's going to give me an advantage over the course of the game until he starts to field more anti-tank units or vehicles. And in that case, I always have the decision between either building myself a nice martyr or using the PAK 38. Depending on what my opponent decides to go for. Get some extra roast damage here, but I am, still kind of concerned about that target weak point, so I don't want to overextend. I planted some wire on the other side of his green cover that he placed here. I'm getting maximum value out of this 250 with the PG in it because the Vet 1 passive on the PG gives them extra capture speed. So I'm able to more quickly capture this point and then rotate over to support my other troops that are pushing in. And I'll probably be able to get these assault grenadiers into the 250 before I really engage with him in this area. I'm leveraging the commander mode to get myself some extra vision from the 8-rad. And pushing in with the Stug first, because I want the Stug absorbing any potential blows from anti-tank weapons like the bazookas we see here, and the GMC that I know he's got somewhere. Panzer III coming into support. Just turning off my firing positions mode here. He's getting a second bazooka squad. It's probably a good decision from him. Looks like he's also constructing another GMC, which is another good choice to support his troops. Pushing in here with the Panzer Grenadier Assault Grenadier combo. He's rightly focusing the Assault Grenadier and getting some great value out of the Vet 1 on the Panzer Grenadier. And I'm gonna greed this bar here actually. This was a little bit risky. Maybe I shouldn't have done it, but I was pretty confident that the MG34 could defend the retreat, which I was correct about in this case.
Anti-infantry have orders to salvage all they can
repair
from
kits.
vehicles.
Leveraging the Panzer pile with our sweeper. Always going for the sweeper pile at this point. Never going for the flamethrower anymore. The Assault Grenadier kind of fills the gap that you would otherwise experience with having a flame Panzer Pioneer. Or a flamethrower Pioneer, I should say.
Once the grenadiers are fully replenished.
Getting back on the field here, noticing his second GMC, but because now we've got the Vet 2 armor on the Stug, the frontal penetration is more reliably going to be able to deflect shots from the GMCs, which is great. Here, I decided to go for the PAK 38 call-in because the Martyr has a horrible time trying to hit these. So I'm pretty confident that with all my anti-infantry vehicles, I'll be able to defend this PAK. And the PAK, between its range and its better accuracy than the Martyr, I'm going to be able to deter any pushes from these GMCs. Panzer Grenadier coming in with MG34 support to recapture this fuel. We're using this building to cover from the GMCs here. Setting up my pack, getting my pack into position, coming around the side with the Assault Grenadiers. Got popped by the... He's got 2 bazookas and 2 GMCs here. Using the green cover here with the Assault Grenadiers, engaging the riflemen at close range. PAK 38 gets a nice shot in. And I'm trying to focus on picking off his infantry squads if I can. Whew. Dicey there. Stug in here, PAK to support. Using the Vet 1 to harass his anti-infantry squads that I know are at long range at the moment. Panzer Grenadier capturing here, and I'm just getting my repairs up.
Vehicles must maintain the pressure.
Probably should have packed this PAK 38 up sooner because he can see it. Anytime you see a flare over your positions, you probably want to consider repositioning because your opponent is going to start planning to push in and see how they can get on top of a unit like a PAK 38 that's a lot more immobile. So I should have packed this up and pulled it back sooner once I saw that his flare was up.
We're listening.
Replenishing assault grenadiers, MG34, you know, importantly, covering the VP and also my +10 fuel point.
Have orders? Let's see what you're made of.
Can't win this war on our asses.
Bringing my ferry back to the base to pick up my assault grenadiers, and I'm gonna make another play on here for the VP and the +10 fuel that he's got.
Enemy troops have engaged.
And I'm just trying to be really careful here because I know he's got double GMC and double bazooka. So if I overextend too much and get too aggressive, he's going to be able to pick off my vehicles, and then I'm going to fold completely to his bar riflemen. Back in here supporting the Stug. Looks like he can see it with the scout, so he's getting a double barrage here on the PAK. This is the only downside for going to PAK over Martyr. Assault Grenadiers here defending the push-in from his bazooka squads. Getting my PAK into position in case he pushes in. I think I'm going to swing over here. Just keep an eye out for his bazooka squad. Thankfully, you know, because of my emergency repair kits, my vehicles, every second they're out of combat, I'm getting health back on them, even though my Panzerpio is still stuck in base, which is allowing me to be a lot more active with them than I might otherwise have to be forcing repairs. Now, I'm thinking about tier 4 at this point. I'm not confident that with the vehicles that I have, I can make a play to really push into his double GMC and bazooka squads. So I'm thinking like something coming from the tier 4 is going to help me. Either P3s, because they're, you know, because they are turreted vehicles and they're stronger than like an 8-rad or a Stug on the offensive, are going to help me be able to pick up these GMCs. And or I'm also thinking about a Stuka because I know how much infantry forces he has. That I'm having a hard time creating space into with my vehicles. Now I want to call out, I've also got, I'm pretty sure, I've also got rapid advance at this point. Again, I think it's highly underrated tech. And the reason I'm able to do this is because of how many infantry units I've got and how little I've bled relative to my opponent. Your KD as DAK, like really to be super competitive with USF especially, it needs to be about 2 to 1, like you're seeing here. The only way you're going to do that is by not losing a ton of infantry models. So you need to play a lot more conservatively with your infantry than you would with a faction like USF. Nice mounts there from P3 on that GMC. PAK is in position to defend a push from the GMC. And again, I'm kind of interested in just buying myself time so that I can get into my tier 3 vehicles. Excellent roast damage in there from the P3. Again, hiding behind this building so that we can't get shot from the GMCs unless he exposes himself on one side or the other. And that's where our PAK comes in. I'm trying to use attack ground to hit this GMC through this bush because I don't actually have visibility on it. Stug is the one taking the rounds. And I also want to call out here, I'm using the commander mode on the 8-rad to increase the rate of fire of my Stug D. As well as my PAK 38. And it's also giving me vision of this whole area. In some cases, like, unless you're kind of fighting around the outside of the map, commander mode can be a lot more valuable way to use your 8-rad as you kind of progress into the mid and late game. Because, you know, the damage it does is okay, but it kind of falls off, and the utility that you get from commander mode is so valuable that it's worth switching to this rather than using it for combat purposes.
Commandant, we have command points available to
Big
us.
grenades in there on his squad that used poured on him, which reduces their movement speed. He's doing a good job here with his GMCs, landing a barrage on my PAK. I'll pull that back. MG34 I'm trying to get a little bit more active with because he's not interested in the right side here. And again, between the chip damage that you get from the Stug D and then the consistent damage from the flamethrower on the P3, I just feel like these two complement each other so well when fighting infantry. Because you're going to get great chip and AoE damage at longer range from your Stug D. And then the P3 is just going to deter any kind of push into your Stug Ds. So I've been a big fan of these two units working together. And a nice shot in there on his GMC from the pack. Again, keeping the P3 behind the building to support.
Ready for orders.
300 points remaining. Say again. 300 points remaining.
Down! Switching belts under fire! Taking fire!
So I'm thinking about probably either a P3 or a Stuka at this point. I know now that he's got a 1919, I'm going to need some kind of indirect, or my Stug is going to need to get some big hits in order to keep him from pushing in. I'm actually using the healing on the medical station on my 250 to heal up my pack in this case, because I want to keep it on the field, I want to keep it active. And having an AT gun that's super unhealthy is just like a huge liability with this build, because if he gets another good couple barrages in, he's going to take this out, and then he's just going to be able to swarm me with all his infantry. So we need to be really careful about protecting the pack.
Proximity alarm. Near ammunition.
Don't want to get too close because I don't want to expose myself to the satchel on these guys. Pushing in with the P3 to see if I can get the capture on. I've got a smoke grenade available. Should be using that to block the line of sight of this 1919. Staying active with my vehicles, denying him the capture on this side point. I know he's going to have to rotate over with his GMCs to defend this, so I'm seeing if I can get a little bit more aggressive and try to pick up a kill on these. We are safe. So we are going for the P3. I do want a Stuka, but I think the P3 is a safer option to protect myself against dives from these GMCs. So the P3 is what I opt for in this case. I'm also going to be saving for the Stuka Loiter, because if he's going for tier 4, which he probably should be pretty soon, then I'm going to want to have that in my back pocket to defend against big vehicle pushes as well. Using the assault grenadiers, trying to get them into combat, but was a little bit early on the disembark to get the bonus. And again, my Stug acting as my, an excellent anchor in this position. Playing P3 and 8 rad here. P3 is now available. MG34 I need to get more active with. Again, we deterred the middle push, and we're just going to pull these guys back and heal them, right? We're staying very proactive with our healing on the 250, healing up our squads, and this is removing our ability or our need for a medical tank. So we're going for the Stuka next because we know he's got a lot of indirect options through the GMCs. He's got a lot of infantry. And this is going to allow me to set up for some potentially game-winning plays. Again, being super aggressive here. Good use of the rifleman pushing off my Panzer Pioneer. Getting the Stug a little bit more aggressive, pack and support here. P3 trying to trade with the GMC. But not getting too aggressive again. He's got double target weak point and bazooka squads. We don't want to overextend. And now my Stuka's on the field. So I'm going to be looking for maximum shock value for this unit, because, of course, as you should always with any new unit, you want your opponent's first exposure to a unit to be the best it can possibly be, so that they have a minimum chance or opportunity to react in this case. I see a massive blob coming in here to defend the victory point, and I want to be mindful of where is he likely going to position his troops in order to defend this victory point. Similar to me, he's using this house as a sight and shot blocker, so this is kind of the position that I'm eyeing as a potential position for my bazooka. So, or my Stuka, I should say. So I'm going to wait until, you know, I get a good opportunity kind of eyeing that position before I use the barrage.
We're losing grasp of the victory point.
But then we can see here, he's kind of settling into it with a lot of his units. So I'm backing away.
Victory point lost.
I'm watching this area. I'm watching the barrage. Now that I have seen this, now that I've seen the damage the Stuka has done, I need to capitalize. This is the big issue I see with folks that use artillery. Like, they'll use artillery either in a passive sense where it's like they're just trying to barrage or deter a position. But the best, absolute best way to use any kind of artillery is always with follow-up in an attempt to clean up your opponent's units. So now that I've created this big opening, even if I'm forced to trade out some of my vehicles, if I can pick off some of the squads that I've just like chomped at here with my Stuka, it's going to be worth it. So I run that kind of calculation in my head and I'm like, you know what? I think that if I commit here, it's going to be worth it regardless. So I'm going to focus my P3 on targeting these squads that are low health. And I'm going to focus my Flam Panzer, I should say. And then my P3 and my pack, I'm going to get really aggressive on the GMCs with, because those are the prime targets for me. So now I can see he's retreating everything. We've done some good damage. We're leveraging the Panzerstorm ability in this case in order to close the gap and get aggressive as possible. This is also going to keep me from getting engine damage on any kind of mines. So this is like the best ability that I can use when you're making a commitment play. P3, we're trying to get around outside of the arc of the GMC. Assault Grenadiers on top of the Bazooka squad. Flam Panzer is chasing the squads back to base. Trying to deny line of sight with the P3. Assault Grenadiers focused on the Bazooka squads. And again, we're just roasting him in his base. And he calls GG well played. So that's it. This is kind of like, I feel like one of the better builds that I've been doing with DAK at the moment. This is the one that I've had the most consistent success with against high-level players, so I would encourage you guys to give it a try. You know, again, heavy vehicle focus on getting the upgrades as soon as possible, because you're saving a lot of manpower by not building too many infantry units. And then, you know, this kind of like one each model, I'm getting the maximum utility out of each unit and still, you know, still able to path towards my upgrades and the tech that I need. And it really paid off. In hindsight, for Theo, I think in this game, probably being more aggressive with the Bazooka squads, going for logistics if he hadn't already. And I'm pretty sure by the end he was floating a fair bit of fuel, which he should have converted to a quick tier 4 and easy 8 as soon as he could. But again, I think, you know, between my pack 38, the Stuka Loiter that I had available, and then, you know, being able to build martyrs as needed, I would have been equipped to handle an easy 8. But yeah, I think being a little bit more aggressive with his bazookas as well, he was quite passive with them, would have helped a lot. The double GMC, again, very threatening build. That unit is super, super strong with the target weak point ability. But a key takeaway from this game is the shared cooldown. You know, if you see a GMC using the barrage ability, you actually have a window of opportunity of about a minute, I think it is, to get aggressive on the GMC where it can't use target weak point to disable you. So food for thought for everybody, including myself. Anyway, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And oh, don't forget to subscribe. I think there's like 50% of you, 60% of you that still aren't. If you're interested in this kind of content, it'd be great to have you guys come back. And I'll do lots more of these in the weeks to come. I'm trying to do every 3 days. So anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.